This is the home stretch. The 2 more verses, and we'll have completed Kunti's prayers. Canto 1, Chapter 8. Are we okay to begin? Vangsidari, is it okay to begin? You sure?
They're saying the song is not playing.
Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, we're going to begin with a quiz. And the younger generation devotees get to answer the quiz question. We'll start with you. You're smiling. But it's pretty easy. It's a really easy quiz. Just say one thing that you can remind us something about Queen Kunti. Something. Boy, I intimidated him or something. Something, one something. Who is Queen Kunti? Say something about Queen Kunti. She's the mother of the Pandavas. Arjuna. Arjuna's mother is Kunti. And Arjuna had 4 brothers. Yudhisthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadev. Their mother? There we go. See, you did all right. Something about Queen Kunti. His mind is searching. What did you find?
There was some prayers Kunti asked Krishna when he was going to leave Dwarka again after the battle, I think.
She asked Krishna what?
Like that calamities would happen so that he would stay there or something.
Yeah, or something. So what you just said is something about Queen Kunti, and that something about Queen Kunti is, in one of her prayers, pay attention, in one of her prayers, Queen Kunti made a request of Krishna. You're leaving because you think that all of our calamities are over. But you came because we had a calamity, so therefore, better we have calamities and you stay than no calamities and you go. So let the calamities come again and again and again and again, so that you'll be with us. And we'll always think of you. Vangsidari gets a chance to play with the toys. You have yours and he's got his. Go ahead. Something about Queen Kunti.
She was very devotional to Lord Krishna.
Very good. Oh, yes. Very good.
She offered him a lot of praise.
Lots of praise. Yes.
I said everything I was going to say.
What's that?
I said everything I was going to say.
Okay, well, think of something else they didn't say. Queen Kunti had a brother. Who was Kunti's brother? I'll help you. Krishna and Arjuna were cousins because Krishna's father and Arjuna's mother were brother and sister. So who was Krishna's father? All right. That means Kunti and Vasudeva were brother and sister. Very good. See, you knew more than you thought you knew. You ready?
Yeah.
Go ahead, something.
The Yodhana's brother was pulling like Kunti's sari.
Say it again.
The Yodhana's brother was like pulling Kunti's sari.
Duryodhana's mother was Gandhari.
No, brother.
Brother. Duryodhana's brother. Duryodhana's brother? His name? You forgot. Huh? Dushasana. Ooh, bad guy. So what does that have to do with Kunti?
Kunti was like praying to Krishna, and Krishna was like making like the sari look limited, and then the Shashan got tired, and then I forgot what happened.
Draupadi. Draupadi was struggling with Dushasana, who was trying to disrobe her. Is that what you're speaking about?
Oh,
But what does it have to do with Kunti? Not sure. It's a nice story. Should I help you? Or you, yeah? Who was Kunti married to? Who was her husband?
Pandu.
There you go. And because Pandu was the king, Kunti was the queen. Therefore, Queen Kunti.
Queen Kunti had a boon where she could call on any demigod.
Yeah. Okay. And who was the first demigod that she called upon? Surya, the sun god. And who was the son of who was the son of the sun god and Kunti? Karna. And what happened? Put him in a basket and loaded him downstream. Ooh. And regretted it later. Something about Kunti. Anything.
That story was before she married Pandu, right?
Right. That's correct. When she was a young girl. Where did she get, this is an easy one. From whom did she get that benediction? Yeah. Okay. Last one. Yes, please. Don't hide. I see you. Anything. She had 5 sons. She had 5 sons. And the first of her 5 sons was, the eldest of the 5 brothers was Yudhisthira. And the father of Yudhisthira? No, the father of Yudhisthira. She had to call on her mantra Okay, just put your hand down. We'll get to you in the back. She's enthusiastic. With Pandu, there were no sons, so she, Kunti, informed her husband Pandu. When I was a little girl, Durvasa Muni knew that I would have trouble bearing children, so he gave me a mantra that I could call various demigods and produce children. So Pandu said, very good. And so after Surya, which is what we heard before she was married, now she's married, and the first demigod that she called, who became the father of Yudhishthira, starts with a Y. Yamaraj. Lord of Death. But he's also the Lord of Dharma. Yamaraj is the Lord of Dharma. And so the son, Yudhishthira, was perfectly maintained Dharma. Perfectly. Okay, it's getting easier, not getting harder. Okay, our enthusiastic one in the back. What would you like to share with us? Something about Queen Kunti that hasn't been spoken already. Come on, you're waving your arms. You got something going on back there.
Yeah, my prayers to Lord Krishna. Krishna was going back to Dwarka.
Yeah, going back to where? Dwarka. Okay. Thank you. I think that's good enough for now. There's some other young people, but I'll move on. You see on the screen this painting that's kind of a cropped version of a painting that was a cover of a book that was BBT publication, the Prayers of Queen Kunti, the Prabhupada's lectures transcribed. And you see right across the screen, Gange Vagham. You see that? That's one of the verses that we're going to be discussing today, where she prays that as the Ganges flows forever downstream, that my mind always flow towards you. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing we've been doing all along, and if I have a portable microphone, that will help. Can I have the portable microphone? Thank you. You can't see the screen. No, Aruta and our Varsana, you can't see the screen. There's a chair right here. It's got your name on it. It's got big red flowers and says, Aruta Dasi, please sit here. And Queen Kunti. Okay. So this is the system. I don't have to tell you what the system is.
Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Bando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Kanta Namostute Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Namostute. Hare Krishna Karuna Bando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Kanta Namostute. Hare Krishna Karuna Bando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika
So here's the verse where she's praying that her mind flows constantly to Krishna, just like the Ganges flows constantly towards the sea.
Tvai benanya vishaya madhupate sakrit Rati mudvahata datta Vaugham budanvati Tvai benanya vishaya madhupate sakrit Rati mudvahata Tvai benanya vishaya Matir madhupate sakrit Rati mudvahata datta Vaugham budanvati Tvai benanya vishaya Matir madhupate sakrit Rati mudvahata datta
Such a nice verse. Oh, Lord of Madhu, Madhupate. As the Ganges forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my rati, or attraction, be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. Ananya Bhakti. That's something we can say about Queen Kunti. Undivided. As if she doesn't have it, she's praying that she wants it, but she has it. That's her capacity. May my mind also carry its affection to you, who are the shelter of all the devotees, just as the Ganga does not consider any obstacles on its course. My mind should also not consider any obstacles that may rise while thinking of you, called life, right? Something happens and our attention goes to that something. Much of our life, worldly life, is problem solving. And then 10 problems, and then something subsides and it becomes 5 problems, and then another set of problems, and we're immersed in problem solving. And then we die. That's another problem. But she's an undivided devotee, Ananya Bhakta. She doesn't want her mind to go anywhere else except to Krishna. That's a nice photograph of the Ganges. To cut off the tie of all other affections does not mean complete negation of the finer elements, like affection for someone else. This is not possible. A living being, whoever he may be, must have this feeling of affection for others because this is a symptom of life. The symptoms of life, feelings of attraction, etc., cannot be annihilated. Only the objective has to be changed. What's the objective? It all leads to Krishna. This is a good clarification of the earlier verse where she's asking, praying to Krishna that the affection from the Pandavas and the Vrishnis be ended and let it just come to you. So it's let those lead to affection for you and not in conflict with you. Sever my tie of affection from my kinsman. That's the previous verse. Prabhupada's words. Relations of the soul established in relation with the Supreme Soul are factual relations. When Kunti Devi wanted to cut off the family relation, she meant to cut off the relation of the skin. The skin relation is the cause of material bondage, but the relation of the soul is the cause of freedom. Small thing, big thing. This is a very old BBT artwork. Krishna's on his chariot. The image is different, but the mood is the same, and she's appealing. What an appeal, huh? Sever my tie of affection from my kinsmen. This relation of the soul to the soul can be established by the via median of the relation with the super soul. So here we see a nice Chinese man, and it looks like he doesn't follow the 4 regular principles. But he's a nice man. And he has a nice friend who's also Chinese, and they have similarity besides they're both Chinese. They have a nice beard, and they have a certain configuration of eyes and things like that. But there's other likenesses. Inside this one, there's a soul. Inside that one, the soul. Now, how to have a soul-to-soul relationship? That takes transcendental understanding. It's in relation with the Supreme Soul. So good news, Super Soul is within the heart of everyone. And it's possible to have a soul-to-soul relationship provided the Super Soul is at the center. Small thing. Seeing in the darkness is not seeing, but seeing by the light of the sun means to see the sun and everything else which was unseen in the darkness. That is the way of devotional service. Prabhupada has such a nice way of saying things so simply, isn't it? Besides, it's a nice sunrise. Look at that. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes this as the translation. May my mind hold affection, or rati, for you without any obstacle. Udva means to flow strongly. The mind should not think of anything else. Ananya Vishaya. Your devotees are non-different from you, and thus without affection for them, affection for you cannot take place. It is not possible that this could please you. This I know. Therefore, let my mind have attraction for no one except you and your devotees. He makes it very nice. It's very clear. I mean, it can be misunderstood, but he's making it easily understood. I pray to cut affectionate bonds with the Pandavas and Yadavas who are your devotees, but since it is a prayer in front of you, it means cutting only the material affection which arises from bodily identification. It is not cutting the affectionate relation with you. I want to cut that affection which causes bondage. Much clarity, isn't it? Put that one in your heart and keep it there. A nice example, this is Gopakumar reuniting with Krishna. You all know the Gopakumar story. You know the Gopakumar story?
Part of it, kind of.
Kind of. Tell me what you know about it. Gopakumar.
Like he traveled everywhere.
How did he travel everywhere?
I don't remember too much.
Yeah, here, I can help you. He got a mantra, right?
Yeah.
And the mantra had power, right? With that power, his consciousness elevated and elevated and elevated and elevated. And as his consciousness elevated, he could travel from one place to the next place to the next place. That's how he did all his space travel, through mantra meditation. We can't do it like that, but he could do it like that. And then what happened?
I don't remember what happened. Like.
Well, there, here it is. What do you see in the
I don't know
picture?
what happened now. Like he went to Goloka. I don't
Yeah.
know how, but
His mantra took him there.
he went there and then he got welcomed by Krishna.
There he is. Krishna saw him and embraced him. And everyone look at how much affection Krishna has for this unknown person who is here for the first time. The gopis want to offer him a garland. The cowherd boys want to welcome him. The peacocks are dancing like madmen. And the cows are mooing, and everyone's happy because he made it to the spiritual world just from chanting his mantra with faith for a long time. Okay, final verse in her prayers. This has longer meter, so you have to be careful as you follow the verse.
Shri Krishna Krishna Sakha Vrishni Rishabhavanitra Rajanya Vamshadhana Pavarga Virya Govinda Govija Surati Haravatara Yogeshwara Khila Guru Bhagavan Namaste.
Pause.
Shri Krishna Krishna Sakha Vrishni Rishabhavanitra Rajanya Vamshadhana Pavarga Virya Govinda Govija Surati Haravatara Yogeshwara Khila Guru Bhagavan Namaste. Shri Krishna Krishna Sakha Vrishni Rishabhavanitra Rajanya Vamshadhana Pavarga Virya Govinda Govija Surati Haravatara Yogeshwara Khila Guru Bhagavan Namaste. Shri Krishna Krishna Sakha Vrishni Rishabhavanitra Rajanya Vamshadhana Pavarga Virya Govinda Govija Surati Haravatara Yogeshwara Khila Guru Bhagavan Namaste.
Nice verse. O Krishna, O friend of Arjuna, Krishna Sakha, friend of Arjuna. O chief among the descendants of Vrishni, you are the destroyer of those political parties which are disturbing elements on this earth. Your prowess never deteriorates. You are the proprietor of the transcendental abode, and you descend to relieve the distresses of the cows, the brahmanas, and the devotees. You possess all mystic powers, and you are the preceptor of the entire universe. You are the Almighty God, and I offer my respectful obeisances. I offer you my respectful obeisances. Pretty dramatic ending. Of course, she could go on and on and on. Prabhupada's commentary, the Almighty Lord has his eternal transcendental abode where he is engaged in keeping Surabhi cows. Krishna is very fond of cows at different stages. There's his Vrindavan Leela he likes very much. And the residents of Vrindavan like his Leela in Vrindavan very much. He loves the cows love him, And of course, he not only loves the cows, he has hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. The rasa dance, according to Nectar of Instruction, the rasa dance is one of the main features that makes Vrindavan super excellent above Dwarka, above Mathura, Mathura above Vaikuntha and Ayodhya. But there's different rasa dances. And this is one, it's a full moon night, but there's one in the fall and there's one in the spring. What's the difference between the rasa dance in the fall and the rasa dance in the spring? This isn't for the kids, this is for the adults. Is there a difference? There's similarity, of course. The autumn rasa dance is the one that's described in the 10th canto, the celebrated 10th, Gopi Geet section. Because in the autumn season, Krishna plays, it's specific. He's at Vamsivat. And you all that have been to Vrindavan, you know where Vamsivat is. And if you haven't been to Vrindavan, please go to Vamsivat along with everything else that you do. And it's a very nice place. Very, very nice place. Transcendently nice place. And there's a vat, or a tree, and under which Krishna stood, threefold bending form, playing upon his flute. And his age, he's just turned 8. But he's calling the gopis to come join him for rasa dance. And the flute sound drags them, not like they didn't want to go, but very powerful sound of Krishna's flute, because their hearts were already given to him, and now he's calling them, and they came. And they performed rasa dance. It's at the same place. Maybe you know the pastime. This is Kunti's prayers. This is Brajat Katha. The rasa dance had become so celebrated instantaneously that Lord Shiva wanted to come and participate. You know the story? Lord Shiva wanted to join the rasa dance. Yeah, you know something about it, but you can't remember the detail, right? What do you remember? Go ahead. What do you remember about the rasa dance? No, look, don't look over your shoulder. Look at yourself.
I remember he was trying to get in, but the gopis stopped him
And why they stop him? He's Lord Shiva.
because he was not a woman.
Yeah. So what did they do? They transformed into a woman, right? How'd they do that? They didn't take him to the surgical table. That's modern times. What did they do? Gave him a special bath, right? He came out in a gopi form. So then Krishna personally gave Lord Shiva in the form of a gopi a service. What was the service? Guard the rasa dance, right? And so that's what he does. He guards the rasa dance in a female form. Huh? Something else happened during that rasa dance. Krishna detected that the gopis were thinking, we're very special, or we're very fortunate. There was some transcendental kind of pride. So what did Krishna do? He disappeared. And the gopis went mad. And there's a long section prayer after prayer. They approached different trees. They approached the creepers. They approached the flowers. They approached the grasses and by name. And, where did Krishna go? Where did Krishna go? Where's Krishna gone? It's a love in separation pastime, along with rasa dance, Advangshivat. And that was in the autumn season. In the spring season, which is a very special season anywhere, including in Vrindavan, there's another rasa dance. There are multiple places, but one celebrated place, those of you that have been to Govardhan Hill, it's the very southern part of Govardhan Hill. There's Ashokvan. There's an area where there's many Ashok trees. And Krishna called the gopis, and they had their wonderful rasa dance. Looks like that's the picture here. And as you see, Krishna manifested multiple Krishnas. And the gopis were thinking, he's with me alone. But he was with each of them alone. And they were very happy to be with Krishna. Only in this rasa dance, something different happened. What's the something that different happened? Radharani stole Krishna's flute. And Radharani disappeared with Krishna's flute. Wow. And Krishna was feeling separation from his flute and from Radharani, and he went here and there trying to find, where's Radharani, where's my flute? Very sweet pastime. He descends on the material world to reclaim his devotees and to annihilate the disturbing elements in groups of political parties and kings who are supposed to be in charge of the administrative work. And somehow there are these two classes, the suras and the asuras, the devotees, and these other fellows that think a lot about themselves. And Krishna comes, of course, in different forms at different times, and he does different things, but he takes care of those situations. So these two factors, then also Prabhupada expresses, he creates, maintains, and annihilates by his unlimited energies. And still he is always full with prowess and does not deteriorate in potency. Now this last verse of Kunti is giving truths, transcendental truths about Krishna's identity. She understands him in that way, although Krishna's her nephew. She understands him in that way. The cows, the brahmanas, and the devotees of the Lord are all objects of a special attention because they are very important factors for the general welfare of all living beings, not just humans, but cows, brahmanas, and devotees. So what devotees do, what the brahmanas do, and protection of the cows, or the presence of cows who are protected, brings about the welfare of all living beings. The converse is also true. But let's say just the positive. He came to give protection to all of them and to give his affection to all of them. Let's go back a couple of slides. To reclaim his devotees. So there's persons who have forgotten, but he comes to remind them. And of course, he can send representatives. He does send representatives that have that service on his behalf. And sometimes he comes himself. And scheduled times. And he can come without scheduled times too. He can come whenever he likes and do whatever he likes. And of course, he wants everyone. So why doesn't he, if he can do whatever he likes, why doesn't he come a lot? He's reciprocating, he doesn't interfere with free will of living entities. At the same time, he's kind, just like parents and their children. Sometimes children do silly things. Parents smile sometimes. Sometimes they hold their hand and say, it's not a good idea. Here's why. There's consequences if you do that, and why don't you do this? Let's try this. To train them and how to be happy in a nice way. So Krishna will also do like that, either personally or through representatives. Certainly he gives teachings. And the whole Hare Krishna movement is resting on that. It's disciplic succession, a method of teachers and students who become teachers and become students, become teachers, become students, or accept students. And the message of Krishna is passed on. So here we are in Naperville, remembering the nice prayers that Kunti offered so long ago, 5,000 some number of years ago. Krishna is about to depart, and remembering. So by that, there's so many nice sections of the Bhagavatam, but one nice section is still in the first canto, but when Yudhisthira has a premonition that Krishna is going to depart. How does he know that? Because he's close to Krishna, and he just has this premonition. So he sends Arjuna to see what's up. Go to Dwarka, get a news report back, and pay your respects on our behalf to Krishna. And sure enough, Krishna departed. And then Arjuna was gone for a long time, like really long time. And Yudhisthira was in anxiety. Uh-oh, that's not a good sign. And sure enough, when Arjuna came back to Hastinapur, he looked a wreck. Arjuna, what happened? Krishna's gone. And he then starts telling his story of his relationship with Krishna and his feelings for Krishna, and especially he remembers how Krishna very kindly gave him the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, and as he's remembering, he's feeling again connected to Krishna, although Krishna is gone. And he's realizing that was the kindness of Krishna, so we should realize the same. The kindness of Krishna was he gave these teachings so that I can feel always connected with him, even in his physical absence. And that's something that the Bhagavatam can do in general, Kunti's prayers, but in Bhagavatam in general can do, is one can feel connected to Krishna, even time and space are separate. One can feel fully connected. And it's not just an imagination, it's an actual connection. Srimad Bhagavatam has that gift for anyone who takes up the activity of regularly hearing and discussing with others. And then somehow magic happens. Krishna's in your heart, and you feel that presence. You feel that protection. That's Krishna's, this nice painting. Krishna's reclaiming his devotees. So that's the end of Kunti's prayers. When he finishes his prayers, he just smiles, acknowledging with gratitude her devotion, her offerings, and he's ready to head off in his chariot. But we mentioned this already. Yudhisthira then comes, her eldest son, and he requests Krishna to stay a while longer. So he does, and then he leaves back to Dwarka. And tomorrow we'll begin a little discussion about Grandfather Bhishma, because that's chapter 9, which follows chapter 8. That's an easy question for the kids. What chapter, what Srimad Bhagavatam chapter follows chapter 8? Chapter 9. Very good. Grandfather Bhishma. And he is another personality. Very amazing, intriguing story. Guess we'll get into Mahabharata a little bit. Very involved. Do you young boys, do you read Mahabharata sometimes? Yeah? Sometimes. A little bit? Mahabharata? You like? Do you like Mahabharata? Is there a part of it you like most so far? He's processing.
I like the part where Pandavas discover that Kunti had a son before them.
I forget exactly how that happened. Can you share with us how that happened? How did they find out?
So, after offering the final rites for all their relatives, they walk out the river, and then Kunti asks them to offer one more for Karna, and then the Pandavas ask like why, because he was their enemy and he had no relation to them, and then Kunti reveals that he was actually her first son.
Ooh. So how do they respond to that? You didn't get that far? I bet you're curious how they responded to that, since you like that part. How heavy that must have been for the Pandavas. How heavy it must, because Karna was the most, or one of the most dear persons to Duryodhana. And Duryodhana was so bad. And Karna was his best buddy. He was their brother. And when they found that out, such a mystery, and full of different emotions, right? If you just read it like a storybook, it's like, oh, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. But this is not just like that. It's their brother, their elder brother. Heavy. Okay. So any discussion? Yes. We have a little microphone. Oh, there we go.
Guru Maharaj, I had a couple of questions. In the translation of the verse, of the first verse, Gange Voga Mudanvati, you presented a second translation of that verse.
Yeah.
And I didn't see, I didn't note who was the author of that.
My memory says, I'd have to check, because this was put together umpteen years ago. It's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. I mean, at that time, when I put this together, I didn't have access to so many commentaries. I had access to his. And it was, it was voluminous as it was, so I didn't go beyond that. So most likely it's Vishwanath's.
Because he brings up the feature of obstacles on the path to the sea for the Ganges, which in the verse is not there. Instead, in the verse it says Adha directly goes to the sea.
Yes.
When in reality,
even when pardon me for interrupting. Even when the river is flowing downstream, and because there's another presentation I have on this with a show of it's river water entering into the sea. There's rocks, but in course of time, the rocks wear away because the force of the river. The obstacle isn't an obstacle. The river keeps flowing, and it gets worn just by the flow of the river. So there's obstacles, but they're not obstacles. They don't stop the flow of the river. Not that kind of an obstacle. But it wasn't in the verse. You're right.
Maharaj, so my question on this, on the aspect of material aspect or the material side of attraction for devotees, what are some symptoms that one can recognize for oneself that this is indicative that I have a strong material attraction for another devotee that's, hampering my devotional service, as opposed to the, because it could be quite mysterious, like what's going on inside of me in my relations with other devotees.
My answer to this question is really simple. Who's at the center? And if it's spiritual, it's Krishna's at the center. A soul-to-soul relationship is with Krishna at the center. And if Krishna isn't at the center, then who else is at the center? I, me, and mine. The material conception. And so the affection is not the problem, it's what's at the center. What's the object of affection? So that's a simple answer. Yes.
Maharaj, is it okay if I ask a question on one of the teachings of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur?
Because you're asking it, yes.
All right. In that doc from
Let me preamble. The disappearance day of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur by solar calendar was on January 1st, 1933?
Maybe.
37.
37?
Is when he left.
Okay.
Yeah, so in
It's honor of Bhaktisiddhanta on his disappearance day. Go ahead.
in the doc you sent to my mom of the teachings, she sent it to me.
Okay.
So in that it's stated that the 10th point, pay due respects to the extroverts of the world, but do not be appreciative of their manners and conduct. They are to be shaken off from your mind. Could you please elaborate on this?
Juna Jivan has created a whole presentation on respect. And give respect where respect is due, but don't become enamored by the material affectations of an extrovert or someone that's so they're not just part of the pack. They're a little different and act a little different, behave a little different, speak a little different. You're one. So pay respect to that extrovertedness, but don't become enamored by it. So flip it around and stay focused on the reality, or stay focused on the soul and the soul's relation with the Supreme Soul, and let your attention stay there while you're offering respect to the covering, and then respect according to where respect is due. He's fostering the spiritual conception. He just has different interesting ways of saying it, expressing it. Okay. Yeah, right next to you.
Maharaj, this verse, the Ayinanda Tanuja Kinkaram, Ananya Vishya Matir Madhupate Sakrit. This verse, which is Queen Kunti is asking, let my mind only be fixed on Krishna, and it may not be diverted anywhere else. Could we say that this is the prayer for japa? Because in japa, this is our constant struggle. The mind is going everywhere, and what we're asking Krishna is somehow just bring it to your lotus feet.
Well, you're a gentleman. You're asking like Kunti asks as if she doesn't know, and you're asking as if you don't know. You're a refined gentleman. Because, the Krishna that she's standing by the side of his chariot and the Krishna who we're calling when chanting the holy name, they're the same. And of course, there are different moods for different situations, but it's the same person. Because we spent some time, for example, with the gopis when they were calling, it's the same Krishna, but the mood is the mood of love of the gopis for Krishna. Boy, these children are really active, huh? You mothers are super patient. I don't think I would make it as a mother. It's a scene going on back there. They're just like smiling and used to it. Don't worry, one day they'll grow up. And then it'll be another set of problems. No, not our child. No problem. I'm sorry, I got distracted. So yes, her. It's a very nice. Maybe tomorrow morning, maybe that this isn't an instruction, but maybe tomorrow morning you can refer to that particular verse when you begin your japa. You want the verse number? One 842. Before you at the morning, along with everything else you do when you begin your morning japa, I'll do it, and just meditate on the mood of Queen Kunti as the mood of how you'd like your mind to go without any diversion to anyone else or anything else. Because everything is there in Krishna's name. Everything is there in Krishna's name. So it's a nice prayer. Let's see what happens tomorrow morning. And then how your japa flows. And you'll probably notice more than you otherwise noticed this morning how the mind goes everywhere. Anything else? Yes.
Guru Maharaj, in different sections of the Bhagavatam, the devotees invoke a certain name of Krishna and it has a significance. So,
Button. Did you press the button? Okay, keep going. Just pretend it works.
In this particular verse, Queen Kunti refers to Krishna as Madhupate.
Yes.
The Lord of Madhu. This is the Madhu demon that Krishna killed, and is there a significance to why she specifically invokes this aspect or name of Krishna?
I'm trying to think of other places. There is another place I recently came across where Krishna is referred to by this same title, Madhupati, This is the vocative Madhupate. But my mind is drawing a blank what that other reference was. The other reference was very clear. It's seeking his protection. The Madhu demon, Madhu and Kaitaba, that Vishnu killed at the very beginning of creation. So, likely, she's seeking protection from him in this way. So calling a name where he's giving protection to the devotees. Particularly giving protection to the Vedas and to Brahma. That it? Anything else?
Raj, I was wondering that Queen Kunti wanted Krishna to stay back and not leave, and Yudhishthira Maharaj also wanted Krishna to stay back. So why did Krishna not? He immediately agreed with Yudhishthira Maharaj, but not with Kunti.
When you want something and your son wants something, why does someone listen more to what your son says than what you say? I'm teasing you. Krishna was giving some reciprocation to her in a loving way and giving it to Yudhishthira in another loving way, and just varieties of loving ways. Because Krishna is omniscient, and Krishna certainly knew what Yudhishthira would say, so he gave him an opportunity to say, and then Krishna said yes. Loving exchange, varieties of loving exchange. He smiled. He accepted. She understood. Loving exchange. Varieties of loving exchange. Hang on, we'll get there. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. My question is about the gopis' pride during the rasa dance, that they're thinking that Krishna is only with them. So what is wrong with that pride? Because there is a transcendental pride. So, how do we understand that?
Well, Krishna considered it other than transcendental pride, it must be. Because he wasn't proud that they were proud. And again, it's varieties of loving exchange. It's not a material pride, as you pointed out, because how can they have material pride? They don't have material pride. Varieties of loving exchange. And so, and it worked, to enhance their love in separation, poof, he disappeared. And it's described in different places that he was hiding behind trees to see what they would do. As their love crescendoed and went higher and higher, and then he came. It was kind of let down, he came. Reciprocating with their love.
Maharaj, the story of Mahabharata has a lot of pain, trauma. So, Pandavas, Draupadi, Queen Kunti, they are like, they are wonderful devotees, greatest
wonderful devotees.
But
the
way Draupadi was like insulted, and she has to go through a lot of trauma. Her sons were killed. So, Krishna was always there with them. But when I hear, I get very scared, and I think
you get scared. You better not get close to Krishna. You might lose your sons.
So do I have to go through this to receive Krishna's mercy, and Krishna to get close to Krishna, does everyone has to go through such type of pain?
No. Special ones get the privilege.
Oh, so only special. So only special ones.
Just don't become special. That's the solution. We got some ring back going on here in this sound system. Pay attention. When this is an important lesson from Rupa Goswami, but different acharyas explain the same principle. It's an ecstasy. To you and to many, it looks the opposite. You use several times the word trauma, so they think like that. But it's an ecstasy. How is it an ecstasy? Wait a minute. Suffering isn't ecstasy, but suffering is, for one who is attached to Krishna, that which to you looks like suffering is an ecstasy. I invite you to read Nectar Devotion or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Rupa Goswami, where he explains it elaborately. But the explanation you won't understand, or anyone with a material conception of what's happiness and what's distress won't understand. Or say it in the reverse. When there's a clear spiritual conception of who you are and who Krishna is, it's a variety of ecstasy, because it's a variety of ecstasy. It's not suffering. It's suffering, an ecstatic suffering. That's a contradiction. Wait a minute. I don't buy it. Ecstatic suffering. Stop this mumbo jumbo. It's an ecstasy. And here's a nice example that I like a lot. Prahlad Maharaj, he was put into difficulty. We don't like the word trauma for Prahlad. Trauma's okay for the Kunti and Draupadi, but Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says when the arrangement was made by Hiranyakashipu to have Prahlad pushed off a cliff, Lord Vishnu was waiting at the bottom, but he didn't show himself because Vishnu wanted to see, what's he going to do? Is he going to scream? What's he going to do? And he just fell, and then he caught him. See, the protection of the Supreme Lord is there for those who know that He's there. He's there to protect. With Draupadi, one of the commentaries says, Draupadi later asked Krishna, why didn't you come right away? He said, because you were trying to protect yourself. You were holding on to your sari with one hand. But when you threw both hands, hey Krishna, hey Govinda, I came. You gave full surrender to me. I came. I was ready. But so it's the privilege of those who are fully dependent that they're fully protected. And they're not feeling suffering, pain, trauma, fear. There's difficulty. They can't see the difficulty. When Dushasana was trying to disrobe her, it's not that she didn't know what was going on. It was, et cetera, et cetera. No, then her sons were killed. That gets into the details and details. Then it takes our acharyas to tell us who those sons were, where'd they go afterwards, but still then there's the feeling of the mother for her sons, and mothers that have sons. You can imagine you're in their sleep, your sons' heads were cut off by somebody. Yuck. Where's the protection, please? So I understand where's the ecstasy in that? The ecstasy of my sons get their heads cut off. I'm sorry, that's not ecstasy. So the emotion, that did it result in Draupadi saying, he's a liar, or I don't trust him, or he's not to be relied upon because look what happened? It didn't. It left her in a place where she was helpless, and therefore any sense of happiness or security or protection or well-being was gone, but it didn't damage where the sons went, and where she as a mother was no longer able to be the mother of those sons as they were growing up. That was taken, but the souls went somewhere else. After all, they're Krishna's souls. And he can do with them what he likes. And he did. Who knows? I mean, she didn't know, but I don't know. Maybe our acharyas say somewhere. Does anybody know where those 5 boys went? Somewhere where Krishna wanted to engage them in some other service. And give her that, his exclusive shelter. Because she could take it. And he gave it. So, we're not so special. But there's difficulty no matter what. It's just how it is. Anyone else back there? I saw some hands. I see a few hands.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I have one question.
One question.
What are the qualities which we can develop from Queen Kunti?
What are some of the qualities of Queen Kunti?
What are some qualities that we can develop from Queen Kunti?
Ooh. I bet you have the answer. We want you to give me one. One of the qualities of Queen Kunti that we can develop just by meditating on and hearing about Queen Kunti. I'm asking you to give one. One quality that you remember from Queen Kunti that you can develop, at least go in that direction. One. It's your question. You became silent. What happened? She had full faith in Krishna. This is an easy one. Difficulty, 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 difficulty. There's like 4 verses where she recites the difficulties they went through. And in each one, she indicates how Krishna was there to give them protection. So what about you? You have difficulties sometimes? Never, right? So there's a quality that let me turn my attention to Krishna, knowing that behind this thing that's a difficulty, I'm confronting a difficulty, behind that thing, Krishna's there. And let me give my undivided attention to Krishna. I'll deal with the difficulty to my capacity, but let me not forget behind this Krishna, and he's going to protect me ultimately. That's a good quality, isn't it? Okay. Nice question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. This particular verse, this morning, Gopal Hari Prabhu also mentioned in the morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. I'm just appreciating Queen Kunti's and Srimad Bhagavatam's and hearing from you. Guru Maharaj, I have the question when you were saying about gopis feeling special. I was somehow since morning just so much of gratitude, how fortunate and special we are to have the opportunity to have your association today and the Vyasa Puja weekend. I just want to hear from you a little bit. It's natural to feel that we are very
Happiness
fortunate.
is one thing. It's the same question he was asking. Who's at the center? I cut you off. But it's natural to. But who's at the center? When at both sides, good fortune, ill fortune, who's at the center? When it comes to problem solving, I'm at the center, and the solution is, what is the agenda that's in my mind, and sorting through the possibilities and ruling some out and doing the problem solving program. Krishna just took a hike. Or good fortune. So who's at the center? Whose happiness is at the center? What is happiness? So those are... And elevated souls are able to stay fixed, like Kunti is an elevated soul able to stay fixed. This way, that way. Okay. Prasanna, you always have a insightful question or two. Okay.
Maharaj, when Queen Kunti offered her prayers to Krishna, Krishna was present, physically present before her.
Yes.
And so this made me think that there are times when disciples wish to make an offering, but their spiritual master is not physically present. So my understanding is that this is not different from the situation where the spiritual master is present. So 2 questions, is that correct? And if so, could you expand on how that works and how to reassure the disciple that...
Let me go through it again. Sometimes the spiritual master is physically present, sometimes not. And when there's an opportunity, physically present, make offerings. But then the part that got unclear is, what about when the spiritual master is not physically present? Then the question is, should we offer with the mood that he is physically present, although not physically present? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like in that situation where he's not physically present.
Yeah.
But the disciple's making an offering. Is it correct to think that it's the same situation as when he is physically present?
Well, yes and no. I mean, there's differences, but there's a sameness. How's that for an equivocal answer? Something I remember very distinctly was, on today, the disappearance day of Bhaktisiddhanta, Prabhupada was speaking about the importance of honoring the disappearance day, and then Prabhupada went into a whole explanation that the appearance and disappearance are the same, which is different than your question, but same as your question in principle, because it's the Sangha that's important. And so honoring the appearance and honoring the disappearance, it's remembering of the person, and the person's presence is there in the remembrance of the person. Or it's similar to Arjuna after being smashed and coming back, feeling revived, just speaking about Krishna and remembering the kindness that Krishna had given, his vitality came back by that remembrance of Krishna. So the association is in the remembrance. Supposing one is in the physical presence, but one can not be connecting on a personal level as much as the person who is not physically present, but is feeling that connection. So it's remembrance, the quality of the remembrance that's most important. Having the opportunity for physical presence is unique and special. I'm sure Stira is keeping really busy, keeping all the Vyasa Puja offerings in order. People send some to me and I just send it to her. Because And she's got to keep track of it all. Okay. Last chance. Okay. Okay. Microphone, pass it up, and Gopal Hari is going to have the last.
Maharaja, since today you were speaking about the rasa dance, there's in the purport to Manashiksha by Narottam Das Thakur, Srila Prabhupada writes in this place that the aim of this Krishna conscious movement is to enable us to approach Radha and Krishna and the Supreme Lord in his sublime pleasure dance. Narottam Das Thakur advises that if one actually wants to enter into the dancing party of Radha and Krishna, he must accept the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. So here and also in other places, like Prabhupada says, the goal is to enter Radha and Krishna's dancing party. So my question is he speaking literally here or figuratively? In other words, is he saying, well, we join their party as servants, or can a conditioned soul, a living being like us, is he speaking literally that the goal is Krishna conscious movement, that you would join the Krishna's rasa dance?
The goal is?
That a soul could actually join his rasa dance, like one of the gopis, and actually, is he speaking literally, or is it figuratively? Can conditioned souls like us actually reach a stage that's elevated? Because I know, like we say that the Goswamis are manjaris, and those are sort of eternally liberated souls who have those very close connections. We don't really, a conditioned soul cannot, for example, attain certain places in the spiritual world. So my question is just, is this more figurative or is it literal?
Literal. I mean, we also have an eternal relation with Krishna, but forgotten. And in their case, using Goswamis as examples, they have an eternal relation with Krishna that, and in their present state at least, not forgotten. So it's literal. We're meant to join, literally, the activities of Krishna in the spiritual world, on the spiritual plane. Now, there's steps and qualifying oneself, etc., but it's literal. I'm curious why you're asking this question. You know that it's literal. Why are you asking? Is it literal or figurative?
I was asking because Prabhupada is saying that the goal of the Krishna consciousness movement is to attain that stage. And in many places, Prabhupada says that, some of us may go to Vaikuntha, some of us may be in Shantara, some of us, but it seems like here it's being very specific that the goal of this movement is to join the rasa dance. And that's the goal of every, he doesn't say every devotee, but...
Okay. So this is a rasa question, not a rejoining Krishna's pastimes question. That's a rasa question. Well, who's there at the dance besides the gopis? And because I was just spending time with this topic, the Ashok Grove is where the spring rasa dance took place. So there's Ashok trees and there's, who knows, all living entities. You've been to Vrindavan. Balaram observed this particular spring rasa dance in the southern tip of Govardhan Hill, and he was so astounded, his crown fell. You know about that? There's a place as you're going around Govardhan Hill. You're going around Govardhan Hill on the eastern side, and it gets close to the bottom of Govardhan Hill, the southern tip. There's a place called Mukut Shila, where it shows, you can see the impression of Balaram's crown. There's a little temple up on top where he was seated, looking in the direction where the rasa dance was taking place, and he was astonished. So that's the detail. One may participate in it, not necessarily, I mean, presumably in the mood of a gopi or an assistant of the gopis of some kind, so Madhurya Rasa. The goal, so that's your question. Are we all expected to become situated in Madhurya Rasa and take part in the rasa dance like the gopis took part of the rasa dance, or have other rasas and other destinations? That's your question. Okay. And thus, literally or figuratively. Okay. Even so, supposing you're a cowherd boy. You're a good friend of Madhu Mangal. You know who Madhu Mangal is in Krishna's pastimes. The Brahmin boy, Madhu Mangal. So maybe he's Madhu Mangal's best friend. He's in that relationship with Krishna. Now, how is he supposed to take part in the end goal of rasa dance? They're appreciating. It's a little bit. She went away. Varsana asked a question the day before yesterday about or appreciating others doing so. So maybe he'll just be appreciating, along with Madhu Mangal, Krishna's over there having rasa dance with the gopis, and he's really happy. So we're happy that he's really happy, and they're really happy being with Krishna, being really happy, and that's their happiness. Perhaps something like that. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.